Hey everyone, welcome to the Polker Table, a podcast where we have roundtable discussions about all things crypto and Web3. I'm your host, Michelle, and today I'm here with, sorry, it was Hector's dog is making all sorts of squeaky noises.
We're
But
here with
yeah,
Hector's dog.
yeah, so we'll start with Hector. We're here with Hector. Say hi.
Hi guys, sorry for the background noise. My
It's
dog wanted
okay.
to say hi too.
Yeah, no worries. And Austin
Hello.
and Connor.
Hey guys.
And today we have a special guest to help us discuss today's topic, Josh Rivera. Hey, Josh.
Hey everyone, thanks for having
Thanks so
me
much
on.
for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this week's episode is about NFTs. And for those of you who don't know about poker, we are a play-to-earn NFT poker game. So yeah, we have our own stuff with NFTs, but I actually wanted to, introduce Josh and talk about all this cool stuff that he's working on right now. So did you want to kind of do an intro for us?
Should I run through the background again?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so short and sweet, I got into crypto in 2017, messed around with the major caps, traded, lost all my money back then. I was pretty young though, so it didn't really matter. Got into DeFi in 2020. Last, half year, 7 months, have been fully NFTs. Launched my first project in November called College Kids on Immutable X. It's a hub of communication for university blockchain clubs across the country and internationally as well. We're actually onboarding an international school next week. And I'm working on Yellow Duck right now. We're minting in the next few weeks. And that's more of a charitable project, giving people opportunity to break out of their 9 to 5, to follow their passions, and then giving back to underdeveloped and underfunded communities and school districts as well.
That's awesome.
And so I guess my first question is for you, Josh. Like, how are you giving back through NFTs? Like, what's that model look like, and how'd you come up with it?
So a large portion of our mint, it's going to be 50-50, right? So one part is we call it the Yellow Duck Spotlight. So we're going to be picking 1 or 2 creators a month, or creatives, right, from our community, and we're going to give them a spotlight on our platform. So if, for example, we get a good amount of submissions every 2 weeks, we pick one creator. Say they are a streamer and they don't have the greatest equipment and they really want to follow their dream of streaming. They need a new computer. They need a new mic. They need a new camera. Maybe they need, some funds to take their job part-time so they can stream for 7 hours a day. Mm-hmm. We're going to be providing them that equipment, providing them the funds, flying out to them, recording a doc, and using our platform to bring eyes on their content. That's the first part, right? That's a Yellow Duck Spotlight. It's also so not just a streamer, right? You can be someone that wants to train for the X Games, or a motocross racer that needs a new bike or needs a sponsorship on their team. The other side is the Yellow Duck Initiative. This is giving back to underfunded, underdeveloped communities. For example, a lot of school districts, their art programs, their music programs, their athletic programs are getting shut down. This is terrible, right? So we're going to be going to these communities. We're going to be giving them equipment, for example, pottery reels for the art program, maybe football helmets, football jerseys for the football team, maybe paying for their coaches. We actually just partnered up with a school in Panama. It's called the American School. They're a private university over there. Tuition's a little bit expensive. They're actually going to be matching every dollar we donate. So we're going to fly over there, sponsor some kids through grade school, and hand out some laptops as well. So really excited for that.
Awesome. So you're telling me if I want to train for Ultimate Ninja Warrior that you can help me fund that with Yellow Duck?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. Because I need to lose about 200 pounds to get a 7-foot vertical in about 6 months. So I need some help on that. But no, that sounds awesome, man.
Yeah.
What made you want to go into NFTs for this? What was it? Just expertise in the field? Was it just?
I think we're building a bigger brand, not just NFTs, right? But I think as of right now, NFTs are the biggest accelerator for any brand you're trying to build. it's the best way to get eyes on your platform and build your community. There's nothing like it.
Got it. Got it. And just in general, this goes to everyone here. Um, has anyone seen more NFT charity projects that they're looking at? Because I've seen a couple that are super interesting. I'm excited to see how they work out. There was one for, I think it was like Native American tribes, and it was just like the hyper stylized NFT art. And it was just, very basic. If it sells, it goes to the tribe that its art is stylized after.
Oh yeah, I think I
Yeah.
saw that on Twitter.
Yeah, and it's just really cool looking. And I just think that it's a good way to do like art donation charity drive things that you just only see in person with like rich people events, and like spread it to
Yeah,
the mass
yeah.
audiences.
Definitely.
I know that my son, so my middle child is 11. No, shit, he's 12 now. Sorry. But he really wants to create NFTs, especially after he realized that he could do something where he could donate money as well. And so, yeah, like he's been trying forever. Well, not forever, but it's been a few months, but I know it's been very frustrating for him because he's like trying, like because he is usually like a real life medium art type of guy. And then all of a sudden he's trying to move to digital and it's so difficult for him. And he's like watching all these videos and it feels overwhelming because he also just doesn't want to like stick something on, from like Canva and then call it a day. Like he wants to actually produce his own art. So yeah, what would you say to people who are trying to get into the NFT field like that? And what type of resources they should look into?
As in creating the art.
Yeah.
See, I'm not an artist.
Okay.
It's a good question. I don't really know. I know obviously you're drawing like iPad, like all digital art.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great question for my artist.
Yeah.
Which I had
Still figuring it out on my end too.
So this would actually be a wonderful question for Hector. So Hector is the art guy on our podcast and kind of in the company in general for poker. He
Mhm.
manages the art and 3D asset team, UI UX. He has experience in. His graphic designs are really good, even though he doesn't have time to make them as much anymore. So Hector, if you were starting an NFT project on your own, what would you start with for like digital assets for drawing and creating? What would be your suite?
For me, it would be basically making a collection. But what I mean by that, like with receipts. Basically, I'll team up with like restaurants or any other company that does
Oh, cool
e-commerce,
idea. Okay.
and they'll basically what they'll do is as a receipt, it'll be my digital art. So in case in the future, it might, excuse my language, my shit blows up, my NFT blows up, then not only the e-commerce company will also get a percentage, I'll keep that percentage as well. Um,
Well,
What are
I
you
love
doing with the
love
restaurant or
that.
the e-commerce though?
hmm?
What are you doing with those businesses specifically?
Basically, it's like imagine like every receipt has an image, their logos.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine incorporating my art with their logos. It could be like my
Oh,
avatar
okay.
holding their logo as a sign,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll be a
Uh-huh.
digital receipt that way.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
Go ahead.
I want to pick your brain about this some more as well. But I generally mean the creation of these NFTs. Like when you're doing your art, what would
Mhm.
you recommend for people who are just starting to get into digital art itself?
Be yourself, honestly, because no,
Like
seriously,
Photoshop.
like
I was just gonna say paint.
Pick a program. I love the advice, but pick a program.
for me, I'm 3D, so 3D Maya, 3D
Pretty
Maya,
much.
Modo,
Mm,
using Vivray as a rendering option.
that sounds
Um,
hard though, because I mean, I taught my son how to use Photoshop, but if you guys have ever used it, it is not something you can just teach a child. So, yeah, and like I mean, I know how to use Photoshop just because, of my photography background, right? But like
mhm.
I don't do it as an illustrator. I just use it for photos, but I know just enough to like teach him. But man, like and I know how to like replicate things so he can create a collection. Maybe I do need to like shell out some money for an iPad because he's been trying to do it on this like cheap trackpad he purchased with his own money from Amazon. He is having such a rough time, and I feel so bad because I feel like I've kind of not given him all the tools to fully succeed. And then I'm like, keep going, buddy, you got this. And he's
That
just like, I just want to draw penguins.
that child is struggling.
I actually have
Yeah.
I have a tablet where you whatever you do on that tablet, it shows on your TV, or not TV, but your screen on your
Yeah, that's
computer.
what he has, but it's delayed, it's crap.
Is he
I mean, but
using? Have him use ZBrush. ZBrush is a 3D software where you
okay.
sculpt. Um,
Oh, he
it's
would
a
love that.
sculpture,
Yeah.
and that's what I use my. I think it's a Wacom tablet.
Mm,
But like Austin said, I've been so busy with everything else, I haven't had time to like make my own assets in a while.
right, right.
But yeah, those tablets are pretty cool.
So you're earlier on, you're telling me that you want to move NFTs into like restaurant and e-commerce and selling. How do you envision that? Like, what is the process of that? Would you think?
If I had to think right now, because I haven't thought of that, it was just like literally an idea just in my head.
He's
if I had
constantly coming up with these type of amazing ideas, though. Just
a,
like
if I had to process that, literally, ugh, that's gonna be interesting. The minting process, things like that. I think I need Alexander on this part. It is a good idea.
Well,
Just
how
figure out
side
so
something.
hustle.
it does sound like a good side hustle. So I guess envisioning NFTs in general, where do you think the next step is in the space, guys? Is it e-commerce and e-finance and using it for more utilitarian purposes? Are we going to go fully like uh, art focus, like only the actual image itself is going to matter, and people are going to start hosting images on the chain so they don't get blown away in the future?
Hmm.
Because right now, images aren't hosted on the chain
The
all the
thing
time,
is,
which
you
is
cannot. There's no way to actually host the image on the chain. You can host
Oh,
metadata,
really?
and you can lock that metadata so that you can't change it. But in the end, that can still be removed, even though the storage is decentralized. In the end, like that link to the image can be taken down. There'll be proof it's taken down, but you've got all you've got is you've got proof of ownership and a dog. So
Yeah.
I think the best thing for NFTs is something that that proof of ownership has like validity. So
Hmm.
for preventing fraud, for ticketing, for something where you need 5,000 tickets to an event, you don't want fakes. You come in, yes, it has a nice graphic attached to it, but in the end, you scan the QR code for that address, you hold the NFT. It's you're preventing fraud for IDs,
Oh.
for supply chain. These things are really important. I think that's probably the most overlooked side. I think the best thing with NFTs right now is what Josh said, is if you can bring them into a project you already have an idea for, it's great marketing. Because like you're doing a like community outreach project. NFTs probably don't are not something that's completely needed within that sort of ecosystem. But
Hmm.
by using NFTs, you're bringing people in that are going to be interested, which will grow that. So I
Hmm.
think like it's at the moment it's a great marketing tool, and to run a community driven initiative like that, it's amazing, right? You can give something back using something people are interested in, and we're still using blockchain at the same time. So even though it's not as decentralized or as as maybe we dreamed of back with the DeFi stuff, it still works in the same way, and you're still giving back to the community. So I think in the end, like there's like a bit of a trade off sometimes between decentralization and what we actually get from an NFT.
Hmm.
But if we can
Right.
use it for things like what Josh is doing, I think that's great.
Definitely. And I think a big short term adoption is fashion as well. I used to work in the fashion industry, like wholesaling to resale stores in Miami and LA, streetwear, sneakers, and corporations are losing billions of dollars a year in counterfeits. And a way to
Oh.
fix that is the blockchain. So, say I were to receive an Air Jordan 1 in the mail from Nike. It has a QR code. I can scan the QR code. I can scan this physical asset into my digital wallet. Now I have one of one, not counterfeitable, right? Verified from Nike. Whenever I transact my physical shoe in real life, I transact my digital shoe as well. And, they'll move
What?
together.
I
It
have heard
eliminates the market
somebody
of
explaining
market.
NFTs from that concept of like, you know, luxury brands, but it was just the concept of like what an NFT could be.
Yeah.
But the fact that you could actually link it to something physical like that is amazing to me. Because
That's
in
very interesting.
like ultra luxury high brands like Chanel and Louboutins and all that, like it's really hard. I mean, like more and more, the counterfeits look so real that you really can't tell. I mean,
Okay.
even
Oh
yeah,
wow.
there's a really big company. Not going to say their name, but they had a huge backlash one time because they ended up having a couple of counterfeits on their site that they
Mhm.
sold. And they're supposed to be like full all real. They're the ones that like give the proof and make sure it's all real, and they were selling
A
counterfeits.
million percent. Yeah. I know multiple
Yeah.
stores in LA and Miami. I'm not going to call them out, but I know that at least 40% of all their sneakers and clothes are counterfeit. No one has any idea.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Big
that would be
stores.
amazing. Yeah.
Now, I don't want to knock off counterfeit clothes right now because I wear a bunch of counterfeit designer that I get for super cheap, and I get compliments on it, and I tell people, no, it's fake. I just rock the fake shit because it's
No, I'm
nice.
all good about fake, but it's for the people who want the
Right,
real, I think
right,
too. That's
right.
where it comes in handy. And for like those companies that do want to make sure that their stuff is like, shown as legit, then yeah,
Right.
sure. Like you can have that on the blockchain. But yeah, like if I can get like a super real, I mean, I don't really care about handbags these days anymore, but back in the day, I would
Yeah.
not have um blinked at getting a fake Seaward bag.
Right. Like there is a pair of I saw this on a person I had a meeting with of pair of Versace glasses that has the Versace logo right there on each
Yeah.
side. And it's no, it's just instead of like the thing, it's like a gold just bar
Yep.
with the logo, and then it goes back to being the normal glasses. I want that so bad. I would buy that thing fake right away.
Dude, just
And
go to a Korean store. They have those everywhere. Everywhere. I will take you. Next time we meet up,
okay,
I
okay,
will bring you to Annandale and I will show you the plethora of
And
goodies that you can get.
awesome.
and
Um, but on a second note, when we're talking about um, you know combating fraud in general. Going to
Mhm.
the tickets for a second, the Get project, it's GET or the Get protocol or something like that. Um, they've actually doing the live tickets already, and I think that's really
Oh.
cool. Actually, the I bought tickets for a concert coming up in March. Blade Drain Gang 2022. Word up, let's go. It's going to be so much fun. But it went through Get Protocol, right? The guy so someone resold the tickets, right? But to prove they were real, the dude was like, "Hey, I see you're in crypto. Let's use this." And the tickets were uploaded to Get Protocol, sent to me for like value of the price that the tickets were originally sold for, which is really
Mhm.
really cool. It's to stop scalpers. And the dude just couldn't go. That's why he sold them. So it was awesome. It was just really really cool.
That's amazing. I always forget how many use cases there could be for this.
Yeah, and just even with the QR codes as well, like it is so hard to try to counterfeit something on the chain. It's one of the
Mm.
most impossible things. Like when Josh brought up, like, oh, you scan the QR code and then you can see if their transactions are real. My mind was already working like, all right, well, 40 different ways to try to break this, right? You
Right,
know,
right,
you need fake URLs, fake websites. There's
right.
so much work that would go into making someone believe your transaction in your Nike shoe is real that you're gonna you need like a web developer
Yeah,
to help counterfeit this. It's not worth it.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure that there will be people who will do this for a living, right? But yeah, it's
100%.
going to have to become a whole scheme. It's going to turn into this like entire white collar criminal thing
Yeah.
where, you're just like hiring developers in the back end.
The
And it's like
category's
so much
rewarded,
work though.
man.
So yeah, so it has to be like worth it. Like, I mean, hopefully it would just target people that it wouldn't like hurt from a day to day basis. But yeah, I know Connor had mentioned because we were talking about NFTs like basically half of last week and since yesterday after we came back from the weekend. But what were some other things that you were thinking in terms of like the possibilities of NFTs and stuff?
I think at the moment they're great with the digital art. Like the art aspect is fun, but personally, when I'm seeing like pixelated ape, so for like multiple millions of dollars. I don't see how that's sustainable, and I completely understand the UK now confiscating some for money laundering in the last few days because that's really what's
Yep.
going on. I'm not against it. Like I feel that's what decentralization is for. If that's what people want to use crypto, I'm all for that. But I can't justify spending millions of dollars on a monkey or a picture of a pixelated monkey. I think once we give them like real world use cases, like what Josh is doing, that if you have the NFT or you buy that, it's going to give something back to the real world, or it's going to be tied to a ticket, or it's going to be tied to. It has some utility outside, but it's proof that you own it. Whether it's got a graphic or not, it's kind of irrelevant, but it needs to have some kind of other use. So I think as collectibles, there's going to be a lot of this happening. That's not going to end. But I think as we move forward, like we can't just keep adding more and more collections. Eventually, the value of these are going to go down. The newer collections that come out, okay, they're still selling for ludicrous money. But if we start tying these assets to literally can be to anything, like if we're tying it in poker to our game, if it's going to give you some kind of reward something tangible, something you can hold, something that is really there other than something that you can just look at on your browser. I think this is where the future of NFTs is going to be. I don't think that's going to happen all this year. I think there's still going to be fun with digital art for a long time, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's sustainable just with the art as it is. I think once people realize we can tie a lot of real world things, any real world item can be tied directly to it as proof of ownership. I think we're
Interesting.
going to see a lot more with NFTs in the next couple of years with that.
So what I got from that is Connor Thacker, pro money laundering, anti crypto ape.
Yeah. I mean, I
But
like
no,
the art. I just couldn't justify millions of dollars in a monkey.
I mean the monkeys are really good though, Connor. There's one with a blunt in his mouth. Like,
It's true. I mean, if I got a real monkey that came with it, I'd consider it.
okay, got it.
But
How,
until that happens, I'm out on monkeys.
how would significant other feel about that? Monkey just comes to the house. He's like, I bought an NFT.
Uh, yeah, I'm not sure it would get along with our chihuahua.
She'd be like, get out.
It's like another episode of Friends. When Ross got the monkey.
Oh, that was an episode of Friends, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Jesus
I had a
Christ.
friend who recently got bitten by a monkey when he went to Thailand. And then he was like totally owning up to the fact that it was all his fault because everybody was like feeding the monkeys like fruit and stuff. And then a monkey came up to him and, he had nothing to give it, but he still wanted to like, do the whole thing. And so he picked up a watermelon rind and gave it to it. And it looked at the rind, looked at him and threw it at him and started attacking him. And I was like, okay, good to hear. When I go visit monkeys, I will have food or just mime, I'm sorry, I'm empty. Yeah, like, oh my gosh.
I feel like this is an allegory for the NFT market.
You think so?
Somewhere. So you just got to pick it out.
Oh, that's
But I want to circle back a bit because I know for a fact that Josh actually withheld some stuff from you guys,
Ooh,
specifically
do
about his
tell.
Yellow Duck project and why it's doing so well. So Josh, can you tell me about just in general the marketing strategies that you had behind Yellow Duck and what you had to do recently?
Yeah, so I feel like in the NFT game, paid marketing is not the way to go. Um,
Yep.
People, I know a mutual friend of mine paid like Rob and Chris Kardashian 200 grand to promote their NFT project, and they sold
What?
like 20 mints. I told them not to do it. It doesn't make sense. Even influencers, like the right influencers in the space, at least the microcaps and the bigger guys on Twitter, they don't take paid promotion. So you have to get really creative on how you're going to market your project on Twitter, on on Discord, on Instagram. So the way me and my partner Jimmy went about marketing Yellow Duck was doing very creative content. So we looked back into old Mr. Beast videos, or like how did Mr. Beast, because Mr. Beast is the king of YouTube, right? How did he blow up? And we kind of used his strategy. So, for example, our first video was my partner Jimmy said 100,000 or quack 100,000 times straight. Took him over 12 hours live on YouTube, and it was hilarious. And he looked terrible at the end. The second challenge was me and him going back and forth, saying quack back and forth. Whoever quits first loses. We went for 15 hours. I threw in the towel. I was
Good
dead.
grief.
So the loser of that challenge, which was me, sadly, had to waddle a marathon like 5 hours later. So I put on the yellow duck costume. I waddled a marathon on a treadmill. It was awful. I couldn't walk for 3 days. Yeah, it was terrible. But the community sees us doing these ridiculous challenges, so we ask them to do ridiculous challenges as well. We have something called the yellow list, which is basically like white list, but we call it the yellow list. They're all one-of-one ducks. And they're challenges, content challenges for the community to submit to us. We pick a winner, and then they'll get whitelisted or yellow listed for that one-of-one duck. For example, some can be, more charitable challenges, like donate to first person to donate food to their local women's shelter, or first person, it can be more funny challenges, right? First person to juggle eggs and post in our Discord. So everyone gets riled up. Everyone's a guerrilla marketing tactic, because every piece of content that's submitted in our Discord and Twitter, it's a commercial for us, because they're quacking, they're tagging Yellow Duck. So we get hundreds of these submissions, and it's really been helping out with our growth.
Wow.
And it's just,
So cool.
I think that whole story just speaks to the dedication of people in the NFT space itself, right? You're not going to see traditional marketers doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If anything, they're going to pay some people who deserve way more to go do stuff like that in public, right?
Right.
So just this space in general, I think, is ripe for creativity when it comes to any part of the business industry, right? DeFi is creative in and of itself because it's counterculture to the current financial industry, right? The art itself is creative because people can do whatever the hell they want, right? And then getting up to the nitty gritty, the marketing's creative, the structure of the companies themselves that create these NFTs, small or large, are creative, right? Everything is different in the space. I really think that's one of the main benefits, is something different in a space that is different that people can dive into and actually enjoy, as opposed to if there's a very boring 9-to-5 job they can take, that's the equivalent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do love the fact that it's just like we're taking creativity to a whole new level, whether it be like the way we move art or create art, but also just the way we market too, how we have to market. So like all those standard things that used to work don't work anymore. And I know that for me personally, working in marketing, like it's actually been really fun, because it's not just that same old blueprint of like, oh, we have to spend all this money on ads. It's like, no, how do we reach all these people and do all these different things to make sure that we're still becoming known, right? Or a game is becoming known and people know more about it, but you're not, it's like creative problem solving, thinking outside the box, which I really like. So yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Josh, do you want to share with everybody how they can find you or find out more about your project?
Sure, yeah. My personal Twitter handle is Josh Rivera NFTs, and the Yellow Duck Project, it's yellowducknft.com and Yellow Duck NFT on Twitter.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, that sounds amazing. I love what you're doing with all that stuff. I'm actually going to go check it out too. So yeah.
Thanks so much for having me on here. This is fun.
Yeah, awesome. No problem.
Thanks for coming on, man.
You.
I know.
Thank you, Josh.
Go ahead.
No, go on.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. I knew that you'd have some pretty good insights for us, and
I appreciate
honestly,
it. We never talked poker though. We never talked poker. I love poker.
So
we'll have to do that for another episode, though.
Another
and you can
episode.
Come on.
Yeah. Josh is actually cracked at poker, by the way, from what he's telling me.
I used to play a little bit, but I wish
He's
I had
cracked.
more time.
The first thing he said,
who say I used to play a little bit, who are like full blown whales. So, yeah. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.
Thank you guys.
See ya.
Ciao, yeah.